Hi, everybody. It's Star Talk on this Tuesday, and I'm Mark Childry filling in for Ken Eccles, who is on vacation this week. We're not sure, but we think he may have paintbrushes and maybe a hammer or two, and maybe some things going on there, doing a few updates to the house, and just, you know, he's taking a vacation.
Taking a little Ken time.
You know how that goes, how that goes. But so Ken Eccles is on vacation. He'll be back on Monday, October the 1st, and we'll be glad to have him back. I'm filling in for him until that time. Thanks for watching the show tonight, and we have a special guest in. Just a programming note, on Wednesday night, it's pretty much going to be open phone, but our Monday night show, a lot of people called up complaining. I'm not going to say a lot, a few people called up complaining about our Millennials show, which airs on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. So
what's that called?
Misunderstanding Millennials. And apparently people are misunderstanding.
And it comes on what time?
7 o'clock on Thursday night. So we're gonna have Jonathan and Chance here in the studio. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow night and give them a little chance to respond to some of the criticisms. Of course, I got blasted too.
Did you really?
I got blasted a little bit, but you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. But anyway, so tomorrow night, Jonathan Mills and Chance Ramsdale from Misunderstanding Millennials, they're going to be in and out talking a little bit about some of the critiques that was on my Monday night show, and I think that's only fair. And but we may take some phone calls while they're on as well. Rockingham County Sheriff Sam Page is here tonight, and this is something we've been telling you about. He's here tonight. We're going to talk about the crowdfunding effort. Now, this is through the National Sheriff's Association. Going to tell you a little bit about that in just a moment. We're not going to take any phone calls right now. We will be taking phone calls, and we're going to read your emails too, but we're going to start out by letting everyone understand exactly what's going on, what this is all about, and that's coming up in just a moment. But before we do that, we've got something for you. You had no idea that I'm about to do this. It's a surprise. But anyway, Chance, let's put that picture up, and I wanted everybody. Do you know who this is? Can we show it full screen, Chance? If we let's show it full screen, and we'll give the chance the sheriff a chance to. In case you don't know this, I was the first official spokesman for the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Page's administration. There'd never been an official spokesman, so there I am in the middle. Well, on the far left-hand side,
yeah, identify yourself.
Is let me identify who I might be.
It's been a long time
ago. My hand up, I know.
We were all little.
People think I might be taking an oath or something, but I wasn't doing that. Took a while to figure out what this picture's about. Actually, that's Steve McKee on the left-hand side. He was with MetroCall, who was the paging company for Rockingham County government, and the sheriff's office started a program called Citizens Alert. And I know you may not remember this, maybe you do, but it's kind of like Code Red is today, but when people had alphanumeric pagers, they could get news from the sheriff's office on their pagers.
You were ahead of our time.
We were really ahead of our time. We really were. But I happened to...
Pagers.
Actually, Greg Moore found this picture and sent it to me.
And we thank Greg.
And thanks to Greg Moore, retired Eden police officer.
Sergeant.
And so I wanted to show you that, but that's me in the middle in my uniform, and there you are on the far left-hand side. You were looking, I think we were waiting for it to begin. You really were not unhappy that day. It's just we were.
I was just trying to figure it out.
You were trying to figure it all out, I think is what was going on.
Because, you know, I was new to a public information officer.
Yeah. As you can see there, Sergeant Mark Childry, Center, is authorized.
And waving.
And waving. I'm not sure what I was saying there, but anyway.
Okay.
So that goes back to about 1998, 1999.
Gotta be.
Somewhere along there. So that's been a while back.
You were the first.
I was the first. But you've had some really good ones since then. Sergeant Kevin Southers is doing the job now, doing an excellent job of mine.
And he gets greetings also.
And he does. There you go. All right, now let's talk a little bit about this. This is something that we've been talking about. And this is something that when the News and Record, and we got the news release too, and it said that 44 sheriffs, you were one of them, and you'd been to Washington, you came up with an idea of a crowdfunding website to raise money
to help
build a wall, to help build a wall on the United States and Mexico border. Now this is the website. This is a screen grab from the website, and it's called help me out here, Sheriff. What's the name of the website?
It's called American Border Foundation, and they're administering and supporting the America's participating sheriffs to deliver funds to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, for border wall construction. And you came to the right place.
It's sheriffswall.org, I think.
Yes,
is it right? That's a short address?
And then it'll link you to the American Border Foundation.
So what is going on here is Sheriff Page and 43 other sheriffs from around the country.
Let me tell you how that worked out.
Okay.
All right. About 3 weeks ago, first of all, Tom Hodgson, who is the sheriff from up in Bristol County, Massachusetts, I've worked with Tom for several years now, and of course myself and other sheriffs from across the country, not just at the border areas, but also across the country. Sheriffs have come together through the National Sheriff's Association to have discussion on border security and immigration issues. And you know, one of my whole reasons for getting involved in the border initiative in the first place was I saw 8 years ago that we had a problem with drugs coming into our country, and I said, you know, as the president of the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, I wanted to do something during that year to kind of educate myself and help other sheriffs to understand that so we can make our communities safer. Mm-hmm. After I've made 2 trips to Arizona to the border area with the law enforcement there, I've made 2 trips to the Texas border areas over the past 8 years, so I've made 4 trips to the border. I've gone to Washington since then, and I've also had the opportunity to address Congress through 2 of the House Judiciary Committee meetings to discuss legislation or laws that are looking to be enacted through the House, hopefully later to the Senate, and then to be signed off by the President. And what I found out after 8 years is it's a slow process. There are a lot of sheriffs that are down along the border areas that feel like they haven't had the support for years down there to protect their citizens in the immediate area of the border. And what I also found out is that our borders are porous. I found out that what comes through the border doesn't stay there in just a matter of a couple of days. For example, in the past, since 2010, I think we've arrested in the county overall about 15 cartel-associated drug dealers that were dealing directly with the Mexican cartel, mm-hmm. which is a very dangerous group that control the border areas south of our border. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, 358 persons that have been criminally charged illegally in our country have been in our jail system. So again, you start looking at that, you start looking at the drug problem, and then what do we start seeing uptick over the past couple of years? The heroin issue, and you see the heroin and the opioid issues. And like last year alone, I think it was nearly 70,000 persons have died across the United States due to overdoses, and a greater part of those to heroin and the opioid issue. And then in our county alone last year, we had 44 people die due to overdoses, and a percentage of those were to opioid or heroin. The problem we got now is that the fentanyl that is being manufactured in China is not coming from China in, it's coming from China to some of our ports of entry and also through our porous southern borders. So the Mexican drug cartel, 2 things they do. They're either going to make money in human trafficking, people for either sex trade or for the work businesses trade and stuff like this, like indentured servants, servitude, and then you have persons that are with the cartel that are also, if they're not moving people, they're moving drugs, mm-hmm. and a lot of other things across our borders. So the bottom line is this: if we want to stop the flow and slow that flow across our borders, we've got to work on border security initiatives. It's not just a border wall, adding another 1,000 miles of border fencing and walls. It's also technology. It's also adding boots on the ground, adding different additional border patrol agents and resources there to help them do their job better. But for years they haven't had the support. In 2006, there was a bill passed called the Secure Fence Act of 2006, and basically under President Bush, he was provided funding for a certain amount of distance between a 600 to 700 mile border area along Arizona back toward California. 2 other things is, in the Arizona area near Tucson sector, that's where most of your drugs come through. We went down to McAllen, Texas when they had a border surge in 2014, and a majority of the people that come in from different countries come in through the southern border near Brownsville or near McAllen, Texas, across the Rio Grande Valley. Mm-hmm. So those are 2 areas that they need to focus on with their border wall initiatives, and other areas where you have higher populations. Not every place is conducive to build a wall. Some places have natural barriers. Some places you can't build a wall. But there are places that a border wall would be restrictive and be a deterrent to persons trying to easily come across our borders.
I know in the early part of the summer they were testing different types of walls. I think there were 7 different types of walls they were trying to test to see which one would work the best
For about 5 years now, Mark, I've been going up to Washington to a program called Hold the Feet to the Fire. And basically, it's an opportunity to be on talk radio to talk about our experiences as sheriffs and congressional officials and other persons about what we're experiencing. And also, they have persons come in that actually live at the border. Now, when I've gone down the Rio Grande, to the Rio Grande area, I've met people down there, families that live down there and have ranches. I've also in Sierra Vista, Arizona, going down to the Tucson area where they have a lot of drug movement. I've talked to the ranchers down there, and they tell about how it is to leave your home and then have to worry about somebody breaking in while you're going out shopping, going out to work, or somewhere else on the ranch. Mm-hmm. And down there, the ranches are big, mm-hmm. but I just can't imagine if I lived in that environment, that situation. Everybody that I've run into carries a firearm when they're away from the house. They keep a firearm on them because they never know what's going to come through the borders and affect them. And again, I also want to go back to Washington. 44, I think it was 43 or 44 sheriffs from 30-some states came together for this initiative to push this out, just an effort to show that we as sheriffs in America, across America, are standing up to support what the people want. The people want to be safe and secure in their communities. They want to be safe and secure in America. Mm-hmm. And we're stepping up, sheriffs, and we're igniting sheriffs all across this country to stand up for this effort. And this is just one effort to say, if you want to help secure the border, we're going to do something. We're going to suggest something now that even our Congress will not step up and do. There's some in Congress that will not step up and do this. Now, is a border wall the total answer? No. But doing nothing guarantees nothing.
Well, what about you went to Washington. You went to Washington last year. You actually had the chance to meet with the president last year.
I did.
And then you met with the vice president just a few weeks ago, right?
Right. I met with the vice president, and he addressed the 40-some sheriffs that were meeting there. We were talking with the representatives from the Department of Justice about initiatives. We were talking with the representatives from Homeland Security, Department of Justice, Border Patrol. I think they had a new Border Patrol chief there. Miss Provost, I believe. And then they had someone representing ICE at the time, high ranking with ICE. And we told them some of the things we're dealing with in our communities, because persons that come across the border illegally, or persons that come across the border illegally that are involved in criminal activity still cross that border. And again, just like the case over in was it Iowa, where the little girl was kidnapped and murdered, mm-hmm. and stuff just recently and stuff like this. Iowa is not right on the border.
Right.
North Carolina, dealing with persons from the drug cartel connections, it's not right on the border. It's 2 days drive, but we have good roads, and a lot of those roadways are used for circuits to get us to get people back and forth, east, west, north, and south. We've got some great highways here, and the cartel, they take advantage of it.
Now, so you and 43 other sheriffs got together, and you started talking about this. You met as a group. Mm-hmm. You decided that a fundraising campaign
would be a good approach. Yeah,
would be a good way of doing this.
Right.
So you did this. You're doing this through the National Sheriff's Association.
We're doing it through. We're working with the National Sheriff's Association, but it's the sheriffs from across the country communicating with our
right.
National Sheriff's Association.
Right.
But it's being administered through the American Border Foundation. That's the official site that's actually handling and administrating the funding.
Now, this is what if you go to the website, this is actually a screen grab that happened this afternoon, and it gives you different amounts that you can
right.
Donate. I'm not sure what the amount is on that. I can't see it from here, but you're telling me that $69,270, I believe, has been raised so far by people making donations.
That's right, and every dollar counts, but and this money can be donated to Department of Homeland Security through certain parameters they're following. Mm-hmm. But the thing is we just want to do our part to try to help with that border security initiative, right. because that's a starting point. And every time Congress gets together, and it's really interesting, because it goes from one election cycle to another. It's like I always say, kicking a can down the road.
Right.
But the thing about it is Congress has had a lot of opportunities to enact legislation. They've had since 2006 they've had the authorization, as I understand it, but the appropriation has not come. So they've allowed through law to build the border initiative, but they haven't funded it, and that's the problem. Last year, the funding, I'm understanding, in 2017.
So it's almost like saying you can go to a restaurant, but you don't have any money. So you can go to a restaurant. If you don't have any money, you're not going to be able to eat. It's the same thing with you could build a wall. Congress is basically saying you can build a wall, but they just haven't given you the money to do it, or they haven't given.
That's kind of like it is, and just like last year on the funding, my understanding.
It's a bad analogy, but it's
but last year all the funding that I understand that went toward the Border Security Initiative went to existing structure or walls or whatever to be worked on and repaired. It didn't go toward any new. And so, and my understanding that the total project that the President's asking for, and I got something I want to read to you, but the total project the President's asking for, I believe, is roughly $18 to $20 billion.
Can you read it when we come back? Can we take a
break?
I
can do that.
We're gonna, and we got some pictures. We're going to show you. I was amazed at how different the walls are depending on where you go.
Sure.
And even out into and there's one right there. Take a look. Now this one you see in a lot of when it's talking about the wall, but even out in the ocean. Where it goes into the ocean. You've seen that right there, where the young man is actually surfing around the wall. But on one side, this was part of a picture series. But on this side, the young man, who is an American, is surfing on this side of the wall. On the other side of the wall, in the Tijuana area, they actually had an aerobics class going on. But you could actually see. If he really wanted to, he could have just go right.
And Mark, another thing, besides the funding, you've got to also have personnel to be able to respond when the sensors go off, when they're alerted to someone breaching those border areas, those boundary lines. You've got to have somebody respond. And so, again, if you go out there, like I said, when I went down to the Rio Grande Valley and stuff like this, that's when we rode with the guys. How much time we got? Have we got a few minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay, when we rode with the Department of Public Safety, I felt like I was back in the military again. They had these 35-foot gunboats. They're running 6 belt-fed machine guns on them, armored up and everything, night vision. And we went out there in the daytime, but they also go and they work nighttime too. But they patrolled the Rio Grande with these boats, these fast boats. And I tell you, they're really armored up. But it makes you wonder, if you have to armor a boat up that much right there on the international border, what is the threat? And that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize there's a war going on just south of our border, and thousands of people have been killed over the past few years, and it's attributed to the drug issue, the drug war, and our cartel. They control the border, and that's another area we can talk on.
We even have a picture. I think there's a picture there that shows the people that cross the border, and they don't even know who they are. There you see along a highway that actually is a caution sign about people that may run across the highway. And then we've got one another that shows it's in a cemetery. There you go. Yeah. And it's an unknown male. And this is someone
I've heard stories that they've had persons come through the border areas during the hot season, and people die out there, and they've got hundreds of bodies, and they don't even know who they are. Don't even, don't know where to, no record.
A lot of these pictures came from Reuters, and so we want to give them credit for that.
It's a sad situation, but it goes back to this: is we've got to secure our borders. If we don't secure our borders, every sheriff in America is going to be protecting their borders.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about this. We are taking your phone calls, and we're going to read your emails too. So stay with us. Sheriff Sam Page is back talking about a border wall right after these messages.